welcome to all. This is a session hosted by the Global WASH Cluster alongside key partners to look at Humanitarian WASH Coordination. Basically, what we will take you through is a 1-hour session around introductory remarks. We'll have a panel discussion with local actors, and then we'll tell you a bit more about surge mechanisms and the Global WASH Cluster field support team. So without further ado, what I will basically try to do is forward you to the introductory remarks and introduce you to our distinguished guest, Wafa Saeed, who is the Acting Director, Coordination Division with OCHA. Wafa, over to you.
Thank you so much. I am actually very much delighted to welcome the participant to this special event on humanitarian coordination as part of the World Water Week for 2021, together also with my colleague from UNICEF, Marichel Rilano, who's the Deputy Director for EMOPS. And my role, I am the Acting Director for OCHA Coordination Division here in Geneva. And as part of our support, we also support humanitarian coordination structures, both at global and country level. And I want to start first by just putting things into context, because as many of you are aware, we have a global humanitarian response plan that we have asked for around 36 billion US dollars to support people in need in 2021. And the plan is currently around 31 funded, but within that plan, we also have a cluster or a sector that is also focusing on providing support to people affected by crisis, to safe drinking water, hygiene, and sanitation. And compared to this 30% level of funding for the water, hygiene, and sanitation cluster or sector, it is only around 9 or 10% funded. And also we are talking about 120 million people who are in need of assistance when it comes to water, hygiene, and sanitation. So you see this also large number of people who are in need. And also you see that we are also have a challenge of not having adequate resources to address these needs, which makes coordination very, very important, both to make sure that we do the best with the coordination with the available resources, but also to be able to mobilize additional support and support the people. And also, as we know, water, hygiene, and sanitation by themselves are very critical needs, but they're also very critical to the health of people, to the nutrition of children. And having that said, I would like just to flag 3 points with regard to humanitarian coordination and water, hygiene, and sanitation sector. And I'll talk very briefly about localization. I will talk about the role of the cluster itself, and I will talk briefly about intercluster coordination. So starting from localization, I think it's very important, especially if we're in an environment where we have limited resources, that we make sure that all the actors coming together, whether starting by national actors, whether they're government or non-governmental actors, and the international actors from the United Nations or the international non-governmental NGOs, that we really have effective coordination. And the local actors are at the center of this. And I would say almost at all times, the first responders in crisis are the local actors, are the people themselves. And I think that's why very, very important they have to be at the center and at the heart, both in terms of the coordination, both in terms of also having more access to resources to support the response. And many of the colleagues here in this forum might be following the Grand Bargain, which is the framework by a number of signatories across member states, UN, and non-governmental organizations, including local actors, to improve the effectiveness and the efficiency of our humanitarian response. And localization is part and parcel of that Grand Bargain too. And as we say, we need to make the humanitarian action as local as possible and as international as necessary. And I know we still have a lot of work to do with regard to improving our work on localization. And I want to thank our colleagues from UNICEF, because they have also supported the Interagency Standing Committee, where we have guidance to improve and strengthen participation, representation, and leadership of local and national actors. So it was produced in English, but with the support of UNICEF, it was translated to Arabic, Spanish, and French. And I think this will also help us to engage with a large number of actors about the guidance and how do you roll it out and how it can work effectively. The second point that I want to talk about is about the role of the clusters. And also I would like to flag that the WASH cluster, when they are doing the roadmap for their vision, what to do and how to support the coordination and the response, they have actually expanded their engagement with actors beyond the WASH cluster. And they had an inclusive roadmap because, you know, while they were coordinating with WASH actors, they worked with quite a large number of actors that can also support the work in terms of advocacy and response. So I think that was an excellent example. And also, we know that UNICEF is leading the water hygiene and sanitation, but also education, nutrition, and also what we call an area of responsibility, child protection under the protection cluster. And I think also one important role for the clusters have been to support the coordination structures by giving them policy guidance, normative, helping the different clusters to exchange good practices. And I think so that whole role in terms of supporting the response, I think is very important. I think my colleague in the introduction spoke about surge. Also the clusters, I think one of key role is that to provide also the human resources required. And I spent 3 months in the beginning of this year supporting the response in Ethiopia. And I think the WASH cluster has been one of the first to deploy a dedicated cluster. And that has made a big difference in the response. I would also like to flag that we have done this interagency standing committee coordination mapping to look at the gaps, and the water hygiene and sanitation cluster has really also had a higher average in terms of having capacity of coordination on the ground. So for WASH, it is 64% in terms of the presence of dedicated WASH capacity compared to the 60 average, and also it had a higher capacity in terms of information management capacities and analysis. And I think these are areas that we have was to improve overall, and particularly the issue of analysis. And also I would like to acknowledge that also the cluster, now they have UNICEF, they announced this CLARE 2, which is an evaluation to the work of UNICEF as a cluster lead agency. And I think it's very important that this initiative is there to look at what's working well, what needs to improve. And I think this will benefit all the clusters, not only the clusters led by UNICEF. I'll just conclude by talking also about, it's very important that in coordination that we are now looking at inter-cluster coordination. This is chaired by OCHA, facilitated by OCHA, but it is in collaboration, working with all the different clusters. And at the heart of this is that we are also shifting together to put people at the center of the response, including from how we analyze need. And I think many of you would be aware about this framework that is joint intersectoral or analysis framework that we look at the needs, how the different factors are impacting on the needs of the people at different levels. So there is an excellent also collaboration on that regard, and also having an integrated response to address the needs of the people. Maybe I'll stop here, but before I would just conclude, it's really been a pleasure for me to invite you for these very important discussions and very important events. I would also like to warmly thank the conveners of the event, the Global WASH Cluster, ACF, Solidarities International, and the French Water Partnership for really organizing this event and for giving me the opportunity to talk to you. And I really look for constructive discussion so that we can continue our efforts together. And thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wafa Said, for those inspiring words. Thank you so much also for OCHA for being such a long-time contributor also to those events, and also for making this happen. I will now pass the floor to a video, hopefully, that our hosts will be able to play from our Deputy Director in UNICEF of Emergency Operations, Meritxell Relaño.
Welcome to all. Good morning. It's very nice to be here with you, and I'm very pleased to join all of you to open this special event on humanitarian coordination at the 2021 World Water Week. It's an honor to be doing so alongside Wafa Said, the acting director from the coordination division of OCHA, who I recently met in Geneva. My name is Meritxell Relaño. I'm the Deputy Director of the Office of Emergency Programs in UNICEF. UNICEF is the cluster lead agency for education, nutrition, WASH, and also leads the area of responsibility for child protection. And we are a strong believer and supporter in the IASC and the cluster approach led by OCHA. Let me start a little bit about the humanitarian response in 2021. Crises this year have reached a global peak across disease outbreaks, famine, extreme violence, conflict, natural disasters, and climate change. So let me start a little bit with humanitarian response in 2021. Crises have reached a global peak across disease outbreaks, famine, extreme violence, conflict, natural disasters, and climate change. As humanitarian crises become more protracted, humanitarian organizations have quickly adapted to address the increasing needs. Yet, we still struggle to keep up with the frequency of prolonged and complex emergencies, with water, sanitation, and hygiene as one of the key areas of assistance provided. The emergence of COVID-19 pandemic further shined the global spotlight on the critical need for quality water and sanitation and hygiene responses as a key preventative measure in public health emergencies, increasing the number of people in need of WASH assistance from 83 million in 2019 to 122.4 million in 2020. The entire WASH sector was mobilized to respond to the unprecedented emergency posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. In total, UNICEF and its partners reached 106 million people in 120 countries, including in richer countries where COVID-19 exposed critical gaps in WASH services for children. So let me talk a little bit now about the UNICEF as a cluster lead agency. This event is a great opportunity for how UNICEF as the cluster lead agency supports and believes in the importance of cluster coordination, as we are also rolling out our core commitment for children, where coordination plays a central role. In order to achieve this, UNICEF remains committed to ensuring that coordination is properly staffed and dedicated resources for coordination, information management, and assessments are there, ensuring the right people at the right time in the right place. UNICEF will continue to demonstrate leadership in our role as the cluster lead agency by spearheading innovative approaches to achieve effective and accountable cluster and sectoral coordination, which supports delivering people-centered humanitarian services at the scale and at the core of the humanitarian program cycle. This includes integration of gender, age, disability, and accountability to affected population throughout the process. We emphasize the criticality of engagement and participation of national governments and local actors in needs assessment, analysis, planning, and response. This is aligned with the recently released IAS guidance on strengthening the participation, representation, and leadership of local and national actors. We also continue to advocate and push for efforts to curb the practice of capping the people in need targets and/or exclusions of specific populations from the HPC. This practice severely impinges on the transparency of an evidence-based need identification and analysis process. And finally, let me talk a little bit about the WASH cluster. The pandemic has solidified that operating under a business as usual framework is not longer viable for the WASH sector and has resulted in the global WASH cluster broadening the scope of cluster coordination to sectoral coordination and shifting towards innovative approaches that more effectively and accountably address the needs of affected population. This has brought an opportunity to strengthen humanitarian coordination aimed at accelerated actions towards localization, preparedness, and resilience across more countries. This has been achieved through critical search support through the field support team and standby partners in 17 places like Mozambique, Sudan, Guinea, Central African Republic, Chad, Ethiopia, Syria, Fiji, St. Vincent, and Honduras. These deployments have provided critical support to the core functions of coordination, information management, and assessment. Finally, we're very grateful to the engagement of OCHA in today's important session on humanitarian coordination. It's always a pleasure for UNICEF to collaborate with OCHA and with my colleague Wafa. We will also like to thank ACF, Solidarité Internationale, the French Water Partnership for your support to this event, along with the partners and donors that have supported the FST, including ACF, Impact Reach, IMAP, NCA and Oxfam, BHA USAID, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Norway, and the French NAFCO. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for this. I will pass the floor over to Monica Ramos.
Thank you, Alyosha. Thank you, everyone. Sorry, I had some technical difficulties this morning with the UNICEF laptop blocking my Zoom, so happy to be here. Thank you. I just want to express our real sincere gratitude to WAFA and to Mary Chell for their support in this wonderful event. It's so great to see OCHA and UNICEF coming together around the importance of effective coordination. And now we look forward to the panel discussion, which will be moderated by Martina Rama, our WASH Cluster Coordinator in Burkina Faso. Over to you, Martina. Thank you and greetings to all.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you and my name is Martina Rama. I am WASH Cluster Coordinator in Burkina Faso, and I'm here to facilitate the moderation of our panel discussion. So it's really a pleasure for me to welcome here our panelists, which I will present to you. First of all, we have the pleasure to have Engineer Monther Choblac, representative of the Coastal Municipalities Water Utility in Gaza. We also have the pleasure to have with us Mr. Aminu Muhammad, representative of the Ministry of Water Resources of Borno State in Nigeria. We have also with us Mr. Utpal Das, who is coordination specialist for the local NGO BRAC in Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh. We have also Mr. Pierre-Georges Akilimali with us. He is from the NGO Solidarité Internationale, and he is co-lead of the WASH cluster in Burkina Faso. And finally, we have the great honor to have with us Mr. Grant Leiti, Deputy Humanitarian Coordinator in Ethiopia. So really welcome to all of you, dear panelists. And I will start by addressing a question to each one of you. And please bear in mind that you have 4 minutes to answer the question. So the first question is addressed to Engineer Monther Choblac. Dear Mr., what is the role of a service provider in the whole humanitarian response, and at which level it coordinates with other actors? Mr. Monther,
Thank you, Martina. Thank you. In fact, it's a big question that is addressed to a person who's working in Gaza Strip, which is famous by its highly political instability. And as service provider, where you are working since more than 2 decades under a place where it's a subject of frequent incursions and wars in Gaza, and you need to keep providing services where most of your facilities are and still a subject of targeting, destruction, interruption of services. However, this is a reason where we need to coordinate and intercept with partners, especially in the UN agencies, in the emergency and humanitarian institution, in the various aspects in water and with services. And top of that, of course, our colleagues in the WASH cluster. That's why our active role in the WASH cluster as a beneficiary and service provider was like a destiny, if you can say that, because without their support, we could not keep providing services, even and especially under emergency response. And in fact, our relation with our colleagues in the WASH cluster started by helping us in providing emergency things, intervention like spare parts, chlorination materials, generators, and this started to be developed with the time. And here I'm specifying specific partners in the WASH cluster, like, and there are a lot like UNICEF, ICRC, OCHA, Oxfam, and there are a lot of partners in this WASH cluster. But with the time, it started to move from emergency intervention and just survive in more developmental, and I would say more towards helping the service provider in not only be able to intervene under emergency situation into more sustainable, in order to enhance the resilience of the people in the Gaza Strip. And this, in fact, started since 2010. And today we are talking about an intervention which is transformed from emergency response towards more sustainable. And I can give more than an example, talking about the construction of STLVs, small low volume desalination plants, which is helping us to reach people with adequate services, and also the emergency preparedness program, which is led by ICRC, in order to help us how we can intervene during war situation without being touched or harmed by the two parties while they are hitting each other. And we started in 2010 when we lost 7 of our team during their work. Today it's a 0 targeting, where we have a system of visibility when nobody will deny that this operator and this engineer is working in the water sector. In more developmental way today, we are not talking only about emergency response and more service. Today we are talking about how the WASH helps the service provider in developing its institution in order to be able to work not only under emergency, but trying to reach a sustainable water and wastewater services and provision. And I think today transforming the humanitarian intervention in Gaza Strip under still and unstable political situation from humanitarian intervention towards more sustainable and more resilient intervention, I think it's something that I would be proud of and a lesson learned. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Engineer Monteiro Schoblack, for this very inspiring words around resilience and the link between emergency and development in a very critical context of Palestine. Thank you very much. We'll move forward to our next panelist. So the question for Mr. Aminu Mohammed. Please, could you clarify how the role of a co-lead for the government side reflects its global role as duty bearer towards its own population?
Okay, thank you very much. In fact, I'm very glad to be opportune to be selected as one of the speakers in this wonderful event. We in the Northeast, particularly Borno State, we have been undergoing so many challenges. So on the side of the government chairs the cluster meetings alongside UNICEF coordinator and co-coordinator from NRC representing the NGO perspective to the general operation. Then government is a member of the strategic advisory group and sits in all technical working groups during meetings. Then designs and technical guides are supported and endorsed by the government in the Northeast, especially in Borno State. Then we have the water policy and other guiding documents from the government to use to develop the cluster strategy and technical guidance. Then on the part of the government, we have the Ministry of Water Resources conduct water operation in the urban wash, then RWASA for rural wash. So we have some challenges in the wash cluster, particularly in the Northeast. Funding for major infrastructure like solid waste, landfill, fecal sludge management systems, municipal type water network, etc. remains low. Displacement has caused a burden on the side of the government, on the limited government resource. Planning for the different scenario, displacement, protracted crisis, early recovery, and development require different strategy and process. Then water under Ministry of Water Resources, while environmental sanitation under Ministry of Environment makes additional layers of coordination and planning. Starting at government level and political priority, for instance, local level village wash structure is not yet fully functional. We have some gaps apart from the challenges. Then on the side of the government, limited funding for the 25-year development plan and major infrastructural projects. The state government is able to come up with a 25-year development plan, which the wash clusters or the partners in the Northeast should key in through this developmental plan. So this is the role of the government on this aspect. Then we have meeting emergency and national standards for water and sanitation coverage is hampered by insecurity, congestion in camps, and or lack of land. So these are the few activities which the government is able to engage in. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Aminu Mohammed, for this very interesting words from the government side on the importance of the government endorsement of all the technical norms and aspects, and importance of coordination with government institutions at various administrative levels, from national to regional to local.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We'll now move forward.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you very much.
To the following speaker. So Mr. Utpal Das from the local NGO BRAS. What are the challenges and opportunities for a local partner to join humanitarian WASH coordination platforms and to be a member of the strategic advisory group?
Hello everyone, thank you. Yeah, hello everyone. Thank you, Martina Roma. And good afternoon from Cox's Bazar. This is Utpal Das, coordination specialist from BRAC, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to represent BRAC's experience after joining the Humanitarian WASH Coordination Platform and becoming the member of SAG. For BRAC, being the world's largest non-government development organization, was a great opportunity to join the Humanitarian WASH Coordination Platform and Strategic Advisory Group. You might know about the influx of about 1 million Rohingya people from Myanmar to Bangladesh back at the end of 2017, which was a testament for BRAC to support in this one of the largest refugee crises. Since the first day of the influx, BRAC started its operations for the displaced people and supported in almost all areas with its long-standing experience. You name it, like shelter, wash, health, nutrition, protection, flood, site management, food, education, in all sectors. But working in the humanitarian context was a different experience for BRAC and other local development organizations in Bangladesh as well. So it was kind of a new phenomena in Bangladesh. So in the initial days, it was not oil plant coordinated and effective enough. However, immediately humanitarian coordination group was formed and different things came under a systematic approach, and BRAC, being one of the main stakeholders, became member of almost all the platforms like HP2E, UKI and TechNAF coordination group, etc. Since then, the coordination group is maintaining coordination within the government agencies, among the UN bodies, and also with the local and international NGOs, by providing support in developing different SOPs, capacity building. The WASH coordination group is, in particular, helped us a lot, as BRAC didn't have much experience in managing large water networks, fecal sludge network constructions and maintenance, especially in an emergency context. We have received support for developing drawings and design of different infrastructures like latrines, women wash blocks, bathing cubicles, solid waste management plant, developing guidelines and providing technical support in different emergency situations like diarrheal disease outbreaks, supporting in natural calamities as well. Moreover, learning and good experiences of any interventions in other parts of the world was brought in Cox's Bazar within short time after localizing it, so which was possible due to the humanitarian coordination group. For example, introduction of mobile latrine, innovative and hand washing device was introduced, which is also a good experience for BRAC. Also, WASH coordination group lobbied with the local NGOs and also with the government, and provided quick and necessary supported whenever it was required. At the same time, BRAC is benefiting by developing the capacity of its staffs, and also with the support of the WASH coordination group. For example, back in 2019, BRAC arranged training for the local engineers with the support of Humanitarian Coordination Group from Netherlands. So like global knowledge and making it a local resource. So this was only possible due to this WASH coordination group. Also, we got support in different fire incidents that happened, and also during the COVID situations and the last pandemic situation, COVID pandemic situations. So as the global experiences was brought in Cox's Bazar, that helped BRAC and also other local NGOs immensely to coordinate the situations in a nice way. And if you look at some of the data, say for AWD cases, which is one of the lowest in emergency context.
Okay,
however,
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Das, for this interesting words about all the support that the WASH cluster has been providing to you. Very interesting, this concept of the global knowledge that has been brought as a local resource, and all the support that you received, and I'm sure all the also interesting support and insight that you have been given to the WASH cluster thanks to your experience as a very important local NGO with very good knowledge of the country and of the field. So I think that this interaction between the local and the global is very enriching for both sides. So thank you very much,
thank you,
Mr. Das. I will move forward to the next panel speaker, Mr. Pierre-Georges Akilimali. So the question for you, can you describe the role of National Cluster Co-Lead and what specific responsibilities and accountability level it brings to your agency? Thank you. Pierre-Georges, are you with us? I think you are on mute.
Thank you very much, Martina. I'm sorry, I was mute. Okay. As a national co-lead for WASH cluster, the main role is to support the WASH cluster coordinator in all the coordination tasks. And for that, there are many tasks for the coordination, which are mainly to refine the analysis of and monitoring on need, and on the basis of led by sub-clusters. In Burkina Faso, we have 6 regions which are affected by security and military crisis. And the main role for the co-lead is to support the subclusters in the 6 regions which are in crisis. And among the perspectives, I think we need to stabilize the position of the co-lead, and he must be dedicated to that role, because if we need to stabilize the position of the WASH co-lead for all classes, I think it is better if we can stabilize that position and allocate a budget for the position. Among the main difficulties, we have the gap for that position, and the short duration of projects that contribute to the co-lead position. For instance, for now, we don't have budget for that position, and it has been running for just 6 months. And 6 months is not really good for the position. And I think we need to allocate more budget for that position, and especially to stabilize the position.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Piaget Jakilimali, for your words about this position of the co-lead in Burkina Faso. It's very important to have a co-lead, to have a coordination team, not only one person, in order to share the responsibility and have a more democratic leadership of the cluster. So our last panel speaker, I'm not sure if he's joined us yet, Mr. Grant Leahy, are you with us today? Okay, it seems he was not able to join us. So we will then just wrap up shortly the panel discussion, which has been very interesting. The main points that have come up are the importance of this really coordination with all the different stakeholders, especially the local stakeholders, the very important role played by the water utilities in coordination with the different NGOs, the local government and the different levels of the government for the technical norms adoption and for the adaptation of development strategies to this new emergency that has occurred, the interesting knowledge share between the global level and the local level, and the importance of also having a coordination team that not only one person concentrating all the tasks, but there is a share between different people. So all this is very important to have more resilience of local stakeholders, and also for the link between the development, the emergency and the development nexus, which is very important, and also for the accountability towards the affected populations, of course. So, but as we have also seen, it's sometimes also quite challenging to ensure this coordination because there is a need of resources, which sometimes are lacking. There is a need of technical skills. And so for these reasons, it's very important also to have this support, which is provided by the Global WASH Cluster to the different coordination teams in the different countries. And there is a very interesting mechanism, which is the field support team of the Global WASH Cluster that provides the support in case there is a need which has been identified at country level. So we'll now pass to the video, which explains the importance of this, this mechanism.
The Field Support Team FST mechanism is the principal means for the Global WASH Cluster to provide operational support to national humanitarian WASH coordination platforms. The current FST consortium is led by ACF and includes members from Oxfam, NCA, Impact, and IMAC. The FST helps us to achieve our work with the Interagency Standing Committee and the 7 core functions of cluster coordination. The current FST includes 4 cluster coordinators, 3 information managers, and 1 assessment specialist.
So I was physically deployed in St. Vincent and the Grenadines from 6th of May until the 9th of June. My deployment followed the volcanic eruption of April 2021. And during my deployment, we ran a WASH rapid needs assessment in 85 public shelters where the displaced people were hosted. We developed a weekly C-trip, different info products such as the website and visibility templates. We launched a WASH capacity mapping exercise among the WASH partners. So during my physical deployment, we identified the Ministry of Health and more specifically the Public Health Department. And I trained 2 information managers from the department. And at the end, we hand over the coordination mechanism to the Public Health.
So recently was deployed to Chad 2 months deployment, and what he achieved was mainly ensuring the operation routine of the cluster platforms, but also build up partners' understanding of coordination mechanism and mobilize them to participate more effectively to the coordination function. And also I focus on reinforcing the coordination structures by providing tools and developing strategies to build the capacity of WASH stakeholders.
We were called for a deployment to go to the northwest Syrian hub, which is based in Gaziantep, Turkey. And with COVID, because I was Global WASH Cluster, I was the connection with all the guidelines coming through at the time. So our main achievement was fronting the WASH Cluster Coordination, representing a fairly high profile emergency task force for advocacy to get funds. And then obviously once we had those funds, to channel them into the right direction in order for us to have an efficient operation.
Best surge you can have is surge that is standing capacity, and they're there working for you in downtime, and then when the emergency happens, then they can go off and deploy, because then you've got them working in preparedness and they know the context, they know what they need to do, and so they're more predictable.
A sudden emergency happens, and usually most of the country offices lack capacities. So the deploying and experienced high caliber expertise on the ground really improves the coordination, information, immediate response implementation. That's why the search mechanism is very critical for any humanitarian context for me.
The team and the support has been crucial. I mean, we really have been relying quite a lot on the support. There's been 7 countries where in our region only through 16 rapid deployments where we really felt the support to coordinate the WASH efforts between government, UNICEF, NGOs, other UN, and to really make a difference.
The International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies was the FST consortium lead and grant manager for a few years. We feel that it's the most effective, most meaningful, most concrete thing that the Global WASH Cluster has ever done.
It means capacity building for staff, and it means to make sure that we have the tools that we could help with our WASH intervention.
First of all, at ACF, we do know how important is the WASH issue. We know this issue is at the crossroad of so many vulnerabilities throughout the world, and we do know it is linked to hunger, it is linked to health issues, and it is linked also to environmental change. It is the reason why ACF decided to, I hope, to show the example in contributing to the development of this field support team and taking the lead, because also we believe that we have an expertise in this field, and we do believe that coordination, and to be honest, we call it mutualization. So we try to take this lead, we try to act humbly, but we try to bring also our leadership and our expertise. And I hope that all together, we will have 3 to 5 very successful years in bringing appropriate support on the field for people facing WASH issues.
Professional.
Reliable.
Meeting the needs.
Dedication.
Efficient.
Support to people in need.
It's predictable.
FST, it's for sure the solution.
So I hope you enjoyed this very interesting video on the field support team. Now it has also interesting to see how everyone sees the capacity building really component as very important, and also the component of bringing international expertise to the service of the local level and to the service of the people, in order also to make everyone work together to have all the different stakeholders involved. So now we'll leave the word to the next presentation, which is a presentation by Jeanne Lapègue, which is a Field Support Team Manager at the Global WASH Cluster.
Yes, thanks a lot, Martina. Good morning to everyone. So I'm going to present very briefly, because I understand that we are late, the project structure, the main outcomes, and also the project challenges. Can you go back to the first slide, please? Thank you very much. So first, the field support team is a team of dedicated professionals. And this team is there to support the national humanitarian WASH coordination platforms. There are around 30 platforms today which are in acute humanitarian needs. And this team is deployable on demand. So it's the countries who are asking for support. And the support is about the three main functions of coordination, information management. You cannot coordinate if you don't have information, and coordinated assessments in areas where assessments are needed and in areas where we have gap. It's all run by a consortium of partners. You can see the logos on the bottom of the slide, which are including humanitarian agencies and also humanitarian donors. Next. So about the project structure, next. First thing, the project is embedded in the Humanitarian Global Roadmap for the WASH sector. It has a legitimacy because it's one of the 17 initiatives of this roadmap. It's also coherent with other initiatives, and it's also accountability. Next, please. Thank you. So here you see the 6 humanitarian agencies which are involved. Why do we have 6 agencies in this project? First, because it's the principle of partnership. We want to have as many partners as possible involved in humanitarian response. It gives us flexibility. It's also a matter of technical specificity. For example, Impact is a specialist of humanitarian assessments. And of course, having UNICEF on board is super useful because it's a connection with the global and the national clusters. Next. So here is the team. We are speaking about around 13 people. You see that the team is divided in 2 blocks. One block is the surge deployees, which are around the functions of coordination, information management, and assessment. And then you've got the support functions, which is basically managing the team. It's also the connection with the other clusters. It's the connection with the countries. It's ensuring the continuity of funding for the project, and it's ensuring the visibility of the project. And this is why we are together this morning. Just to keep in mind that the World Water Week is essentially a development forum, and we are very happy to present here humanitarian water and sanitation project because it's a matter of deaths and lives for about 120 million people today. Next. So about the donors, you see the 4 main donors who are supporting the project. The global amount that we need every year is around 1.5 million USD, which is not gigantic compared to the benefit of the project. Just to note that the donors are working hand in hand with the consortium partners, and they're also associated to the strategic decisions through steering committees. So they are invited in all steering committees, and the donors are really partners of the project. Next. If we have a look at the project outcomes, basically, the project is about supporting the core function of coordinations. And these core function of coordinations are not exclusive to the WASH sector, or to the WASH cluster. They have been decided and validated by the YASC. And the way for us to support these functions is firstly to have a surge support to countries in crisis. We are intervening either on rapid onset, for example, on Haiti currently, either because we have a deterioration of the humanitarian situation, or because there's a lack of capacity in the country, essentially. Each deployment is between 2 to 3 months. And we also offer a remote support to countries through a help desk. Then we have also an approach which is supporting the Global WASH Cluster. This is an indirect support to the countries because the dedication of the Global WASH Cluster is to support the national platforms. And then also the the consortium partners benefit also from a support of the project. The percentage, if you like, of these three fields of activity, it's basically 60% of the project dedicated to surge support, and then 40% dedicated to the Global WASH Cluster support and partner support. Next. Looking at the main achievements from last November, so the current phase of the project, we had 20 deployments. These deployments, every time we have a deployment, it starts by a request, an official request from the country. Then there is an elaboration of the TORs, the term of reference of the deployments, a concurrence from the donors. Then we have the deployment, we have the evaluation, and we have the handover process. Those deployments are essentially about conflicts and complex crises, and about natural disasters, and more specifically about outbreaks like the deployment we had in March about Ebola in Guinea. Next. So this is a map to show you basically where have been the main support in 2021. You can see that it's essentially about African countries and Middle East, but not only. We can speak about Haiti today. Currently, we've got 8 people who are either in the field, either in the process of going to the field. And if you look on the bottom of the slide, you see that the main functions required are about cluster coordination and information management. Next. This slide is just to show that the support from the field support team is not only about a one-shot, but it's a continuous support, and it's done hand in hand with the support of standby partners. Next. To conclude the challenges of the project, one is indeed about ensuring support to all types of emergencies, including refugee contexts, ensuring a continuity of coordination. There is a more technical challenge, which is about meeting the World Humanitarian Summit commitments. We spoke about localization and Nexus previously. And of course, we've got a very important challenge, which is the funding sustainability. Actually, we are still looking for funds to ensure the full effectiveness of our project. So if there are any donors connected to this session, they are very welcome to contribute. Next. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jean, for your presentation. Unfortunately, due to time constraints, we will not be able to do the question and answer session because we ran out of time, unfortunately, but please do feel free to contact us, put your questions on the chat, and we will try to reply individually. The Global WASH Cluster team will reply to each one of you. So I'll now leave the floor to Monica Ramos for the closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Martina, and thank you to everyone. So again, it was a real pleasure to have all of you join us today at the event on humanitarian coordination at the 2021 World Water Week. We'd really like to thank all of you for your time. We know there are a lot of sessions this week, so making the decision to be with us today is really important to us. We'd also really like to thank all of our esteemed speakers, panelists, as well as those that have been involved with the planning in terms of the moderators. So a big thanks to all of you. We also would like to thank the co-conveners, which are ACF, Solidarité International, and the French Water Partnership. The Global WASH Cluster and the team at the global level works very closely with these 3 partners. We appreciate the constant collaboration, and of course to CIWI for the hosting of this event. So we do really look forward to working with all of you to continue to raise the profile of humanitarian coordination and really advocate for the positive impact that effective coordination can have on predictable, timely, and high quality responses. We also really call on all of you to really take forward your engagement in national coordination platforms, particularly working with local actors and authorities to make sure that they are also actively engaging and taking up leadership roles when possible. And really through our experience at the global level, we really want to make sure that, as it was touched upon before, that we have a collective commitment and really strategic engagement, making sure that we are properly staffed and sourced and that we have the right people at the right time in the right place to ensure core coordination functions. So we'd like to continue to move forward with driving for results, and we will continue to do that as a Global WASH Cluster. And we look to all of you to really join us in this effort. So again, as Martina said, please do feel free to reach out to us. You can visit us at washcluster.net to learn more about the Global WASH Cluster. Of course, each of the activated clusters also have individual pages on the Humanitarian Response website, and we really look forward to your future engagement in these type of events and with us in moving forward the face of humanitarian WASH coordination. Thanks to all of you and have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, bye.
Thank you, bye.
Thank you, bye.
Thank you, bye-bye.